For 10 years, I've lived in this quiet little neighborhood, just outside town quiet. That is, except for the constant chaos stirred up by Karen, the self-appointed queen of the HOA. I've dealt with her nasty emails about grass height, her complaints about my porch light, even her obsession with measuring the angle of my driveway. But nothing, absolutely nothing prepared me for the morning. Her teenage son tried to claim my classic Mustang like he was picking up an order at a drive-thru. And the moment she called the cops on me, completely unaware she was calling me. And trust me, everything went downhill for her. From there, it started with a hook most folks wouldn't believe if they didn't see it themselves. At 6:17 a.m., I walked out with my cup of coffee and found Karen's son 6'3", 18 going on 42, with a mullet that looked like it lost a fight sitting in the driver's seat of my 1969 Mustang Fastback, my pride and joy. My retirement project. The one thing I touch every Sunday morning like a sacred ritual. And he sat there like it was his birthright. Mom says you have to share neighborhood assets, he told me through the window, which he didn't even bother to roll down. I need the car for school. I called dibs. That was the moment I knew my day was ruined. I kept calm because that's what I do. A good police chief doesn't lose his temper before breakfast. I asked him to step out of my car. He refused. I told him the keys weren't even there. He shrugged. Mom said you'd give them to me. HOA rules. Community first. His voice cracked like a kid who'd never heard the word no. The worst part? My coffee got cold while I tried to talk to this kid just then. Karen herself marched around the corner like a politician approaching a microphone. Floral robe flapping behind her like she was being chased by the wind. "Good morning," she barked, which was ironic because nothing about her tone suggested morning or good. "We need to have a serious conversation about your vehicle and its community use." I took a slow breath, not wanting to escalate. "Karen, your son is sitting in my car." "He needs it," she snapped back. "He has seen your pictures today. And anyway, you hardly drive it. It's selfish to keep something you don't use daily." She said it like she had just recited scripture. I stared at her, then at her son, then back at her. "You want me to hand over my Mustang? Because you think it's a shared resource?" "Yes," she said proudly. "It's in the HOA's jurisdiction. And your driveway faces the sidewalk. That means community access." Page 12, subsection 3. She really thought that was going to work, I reminded her as calmly as I could that nothing in that HOA pamphlet she clings to, like a Bible, gives her the right to commandeer my personal property. She waved her hand in my face and said I was being dramatic. Me, dramatic. Meanwhile, her grown son was still lounging in my Mustang, like he was posing for a cologne commercial. So I did what any logical adult would do. I pulled out my phone and prepared to call the real police, not that I needed to, considering I'm the chief. But I wanted documentation, and I wanted dispatch to hear this mess for themselves. That's when Karen absolutely lost it. "No, I'm calling the cops," she screamed, stepping between me and my phone like she was blocking a penalty kick. "You're threatening a minor. You're abusing community property. This is harassment." I blinked slowly. "Karen, please think about what you're doing." But she was already dialing, shrieking into the phone that a dangerous man was hiding a vehicle that legally belonged to her community. I didn't know what was worse, the fact that she believed this nonsense, or the fact that her son nodded, like she was spitting pure wisdom. I told her she might want to hang up and rethink her life. She told me I might want to prepare for consequences. By the time she was mid-call, pacing in a circle like a malfunctioning Roomba, I had a choice to make: let her finish the call and embarrass herself, or stop her before my morning got more ridiculous. I let her finish. Because honestly, I wanted to see how far she'd go. Dispatch must have recognized her number because they tried so hard to calm her down. But Karen is Karen. She kept going. She accused me of intimidation, theft, obstruction, suspicious activity, and vehicle hoarding. Vehicle hoarding? One car, and I'm a hoarder? I stepped back, sipped my cold coffee, and waited. 10 minutes later, a patrol car rolled up. Officer Martinez stepped out, saw me, and hid a smirk so poorly it looked like a twitch. Karen ran toward him, waving her arms like she was escaping a shark attack. "Arrest him," she demanded, pointing at me like she'd discovered the final boss in a video game. "He refuses to surrender the Mustang." Martinez looked at me, then at her, then at the Mustang. "Ma'am, that's the chief's car." Karen's face fell. It didn't fall. They plunged, like someone cut the strings holding her expressions together. "The chief," she stammered. "What chief?" Martinez pointed at me. "Ma'am, him." I stayed silent. Because honestly, watching her process that information was the best entertainment I'd had in weeks. First, she tried to recover with fake confidence. Well, he can't be chief all the time. Then she claimed I was lying. Then she said the HOA had more authority than law enforcement, and she outranked me in neighborhood matters. Martinez coughed so hard he nearly folded in half. I told her we could settle it civilly if she stepped back and let her son exit my car. She refused again, her face red enough to be a brake light. She insisted the Mustang was overly flashy for the community aesthetic and that she was reassigning its usage. "Ma'am," Martinez said gently, "that's not a thing." Karen wasn't ready to surrender. Not by a long shot. She demanded to see the legal documents proving I owned the car. I told her she could see them inside, in my office if she'd step away. But she didn't move. Instead, she tried to open the Mustang door herself and nearly ripped off my handle. That was it. Lines crossed. I calmly walked past her, opened my gate, and told Martinez I would be retrieving the necessary paperwork. On the way inside, I heard Karen whisper to her son, "Stick to the plan." That terrified me more than anything else that morning. They had a plan. When I returned with the registration, title copy, insurance, everything laminated because I'm organized like that, I found her son still firmly planted in the Mustang. And Karen, lecturing Martinez about neighborhood power structures, I handed Martinez the documents. He immediately verified everything. Karen leaned in, reading over his shoulder like she had legal authority. "Well," she said, voice trembling with embarrassment, "even if he owns it, he still has to share. This is a community." Martinez, bless him, tried to reason with her. "Ma'am, personal property is not community property," she gasped. "Boat HOA rules." Then came her big meltdown. "I'm calling the HOA president," she screeched, dialing faster than I'd ever seen her move. She put the phone on speaker. Her voice instantly switched to a dramatic, trembling whisper. "He's threatening us. And he's hiding documents. And he's intimidating my son." The HOA president, an exhausted woman named Linda, who looked like she regretted every life choice that led to her taking that role, said Karen, "Please stop calling me about nonsense before 7 a.m. I am protecting the community," Karen insisted. Linda sighed. "It's his car, Karen." "But no," Linda said. "Goodbye." Karen let out a growl. A literal growl. The kind that rattles from deep in your chest when your ego is cracking. Then she did the worst thing she could possibly do. She leaned into the Mustang window and shouted, "Don't get out. Stay where you are. He can't touch you." "Oh, but I could." And I would. I walked to the driver's side. "Son, I'm going to ask you one last time. Step out of my car." He crossed his arms like a toddler. "Mom said I don't have to." I leaned forward, voice calm but firm. "If you don't exit the vehicle, you will be trespassing inside private property, inside a vehicle you do not own, after being asked to leave. And trust me, you don't want your senior record reflecting that." He froze. Then he scrambled out so fast, he nearly tripped. Karen screamed like a kettle boiling over. "He's a child." "He's 18, I said. "He's an adult." She didn't like that math. She turned to Martinez. "Arrest him. He threatened my baby." Martinez sighed so hard it shook leaves on nearby trees. "Ma'am, the only one committing any kind of violation here is you?" Karen blinked rapidly. Me. How dare you?" She stepped backward. Right into a sprinkler head, tripped, stumbled, caught herself on my mailbox, and then cursed at the mailbox like it was part of a conspiracy. Martinez warned her that filing false police reports is a crime. She tried to argue that it wasn't false, just emotionally exaggerated. Martinez didn't buy it. He told her she was getting off with a warning. Her jaw dropped so far it should have required medical attention. A warning? For what? For misuse of emergency services, he said, and for escalating a known issue. She gasped, like he'd insulted her ancestors. I will not be spoken to like this, she shouted, stomping away with her robe flapping behind her like an angry flamingo. Her son followed her, muttering, "Can we still get breakfast?" Which nearly made Martinez burst out laughing. When they finally disappeared into their house, Martinez turned to me and said, "Chief, with all due respect, you need hazard pay living next to that woman." I agreed. Then he walked back to his patrol car, shaking his head the whole way. But the story didn't end there. 2 hours later, Karen sent me a 12-paragraph email accusing me of unneighborly conduct, vehicle greed, and abuse of authority. She CC'd the entire HOA board, 2 neighbors, and somehow the local gardening club. I didn't respond. I forwarded it to Linda. 5 minutes later, she emailed the board saying, "We need new leadership, immediately." Karen resigned from her HOA position later that afternoon. Voluntarily or so, she claimed. But here's the real kicker. The next day, her son knocked on my door. I prepared for another round of nonsense, but instead he stood there awkwardly, hands in pockets, staring at the ground. "Wanted to say sorry," he mumbled. "My mom, she kind of gets carried away." I nodded. "I've noticed." He looked at the Mustang behind me. "It's a cool car. I just wanted to drive something nice for once." For the first time in this whole mess, he seemed like a normal kid, so I offered him something better. I opened the garage, revealing the beat-up old project car I was restoring. "If you want," I said, "I can teach you how to rebuild an engine. Might help you get your own nice car someday." His eyes lit up. He accepted. Karen didn't like it, but for once, she didn't interfere. Maybe embarrassment finally humbled her. Or maybe she just didn't want another run-in with the police, especially the police chief. Either way, life in the neighborhood quieted down, at least until the next disaster she caused. And knowing Karen, it won't be long